Chapter 8, Delirium Disorder. That was pretty peculiar. I guess I've watched enough television and seen enough movies to be desensitized to extremes. I'm shocked, but I believe what she said. I'm still not entirely sure it isn't a joke, but I feel like I should believe it. Rachel is a zombie. I've got a crush on a zombie. I suppose I should be frightened or concerned, but strangely, I'm not. It seems so normal. Rachel is a zombie. She's dead, but not dead. I wonder if she has superhuman abilities. I guess not. She said the virus affects her brain capability in some ways, but if her cells don't really degenerate, maybe she is stronger than normal or something. I'll have to ask. It's funny how learning something so immense doesn't really alter my manner of thinking. I'm hungry and I want to have dinner. I know I have homework that still needs to be done. I want to date a girl that is a zombie. It's all pretty much the same, I guess. I wonder if it will be different. I wonder if it'll be difficult to keep this secret. I suppose we'll have to do some creative truth bending when it comes to having her over for dinner with my parents. I wonder if her parents will even let her invite me over. Her mom seemed nice enough at school today, but that was without any definite invitations extended, and likely no expectations of needing to address the subject of their health. I guess we'll handle that when it comes along. I pull into the garage and hit the button for the door to close. I sit for a moment before going inside. Mom will ask how my date was, even though it wasn't a date. She'll ask all kinds of things about Rachel. I need to make sure I don't say anything incriminating. I'm pretty good at telling Mom what she wants to hear, so I should be okay. I'm level headed, so I don't think I'll get all choked up or flustered if she says anything about zombies, brains, or death, but I won't know until it happens, I suppose. Time to face it. Just as I expected, Mom was in the kitchen getting dinner ready. Dinner or not, she would have been waiting here for me to get back. It was great, I say before she has a chance to ask anything. What was great, dear? Mom asks as she feigns focus in a recipe book. Yeah, right, you know what I'm talking about, I say. What, your date with Rachel? That's great. I wasn't even going to ask. She trails off as she fumbles in a drawer for some measuring spoons. I'm glad it was great, though. No questions? Wonderful. I'm going to get to my homework. Don't bother calling me for dinner. I'm not very hungry. I know I can hold out on this charade longer than she can. Charade? Charade. Charade. I don't know why I said it charade. It's interesting. Okay, I want to know everything. Sit down and tell me about her. Mom breaks quickly. Oh, what's to tell? She's an attractive girl. I'm an attractive boy. As Avril Lavigne says, can I make it any more obvious? Mom has a weak spot for Avril Lavigne. Initially, I thought it was weird, but then I realized it's just funny to see her bopping along to that style of music. I know that part already. What did you two talk about? Did you meet her folks when you drove her home? Did you make plans to see her again? Maybe a proper date? Mom queries. We made rough plans to hang out tomorrow after school. I didn't get to really ask her on a date yet, but I will. Mostly we just talked about school. She told me a little more about moving here and that she hasn't really connected with anyone yet. I didn't see anyone when I dropped her off, but I met her mom at school today and she was cool, I say. Right, Dr. Mom. Did Rachel say anything else about the CDC? It seems mysterious and exciting, but I bet there are a lot of scientists working there who have incredibly boring jobs. They probably enjoy them, but for normal people, I bet they are boring. No offense to Rachel's mom, Mom says. Rachel didn't really say anything else about the CDC, I explained. Nothing I'm at liberty to repeat, that is. I continue. She just said her parents wanted to get away and had a family heritage in this part of the country, so they came here. The ranch and slaughterhouse used to be in her family. It was started by her family. It was started by her family. I put the emphasis there. I remember Dad mentioning the slaughterhouse the other night. Pretty big operation then, huh? I guess. Whatever Dad and I talked about the other night is all I know. Rachel told me she doesn't have to interact with it at all. They have employees for that stuff. Mom says, I'm sure a 17-year-old girl isn't very interested in beef production. Probably not. Just the brain part of it, I think to myself. Well, invite her over for dinner soon so Dad and I can get to know her. Do you want to invite her over by herself first or invite her parents too? Mom asks excitedly. How about we invite her first and then see about her parents? But how about you let me take her out on a proper date before I invite her over here? That's fair, but don't dawdle on the invitation, Mom says and turns back to her ingredients. What's your favorite music? You always judge people based on the kind of music they like. I guess that's where I get it from. Mom looks at me over her shoulder and then sticks out her tongue and shrugs. Smiling, I say, the best band we could agree on is No Doubt. I like No Doubt and Gwen Stefani. Mom starts singing something to herself, but it is barely intelligible, thankfully. Sitting at the table, I remember Rachel's cut finger and start looking for blood. I don't see anything, but have an urge to disinfect the table before dinner. I'm going to clean the table. Thank you, Eric, Mom says. I move my school stuff to the room before finding a bottle of spray cleaner and grabbing a few paper towels. If there's any zombie virus, I don't want it getting into a reusable dish towel or something. I guess I'm slightly nervous about contracting the virus. That's normal though, right? I shouldn't want to become dead and then reanimated. At least not until I know whether there are superpowers associated with it. The living forever without really degenerating or getting older part sounds okay, but I'm sure there's some terrible side effects. If it was all good, then why would the CDC hide it? It can't be just for the brain eating thing, can it? If we all turned into this type of zombie and only needed brains, we would just sell cow brains in the grocery store rather than throw them away or turn them into dog food. There must be something else. Maybe something Rachel doesn't know about. I wonder if the fictional accounts of zombies are somehow based on this real life version, or if the real life version gets labeled this way because of the similarities to the fiction. I'll have to hit up Wikipedia later tonight to do some research. Maybe there are historical accounts of the virus showing up in the world, unless, of course, the CDC got to them first and removed all records from public knowledge, which they do. Um, where was I? Actually, that's the Smithsonian. The CDC might do it too. Okay, back to the book. Research will have to wait for later. For now, I need to wipe the zombie blood from our kitchen table before dinner. That would make a great status update. Rachel, this was written in 2013 when status updates were a thing, or more close to when that was a thing. Rachel might see it as violating our trust agreement, though. I cleaned the table and almost put the spray bottle away before I decided a second wipe down might not be a bad idea. You're very thorough with the table cleaning tonight, aren't you? Mom says. Yeah, I guess so, I reply. Mom doesn't push the topic, and I'm happy to let it go. Is dinner ready? 20 more minutes, Mom casually answers. I'll be on the computer. Okay, I'll call you when dinner is ready. Thanks, I say as I head toward the office. I guess I could take the next 20 minutes to do some homework, but I'm not going to. I've got some more important research to conduct. After a few minutes of scanning the top articles returned in the Google search for true accounts of zombies, I feel like I have a good handle on the topic. That handle being that zombies simply don't exist outside of the minds of voodoo priests and horror movie writers and fanatics. Granted, I haven't given the search much energy, but I didn't see anything about a zombie virus. Well, nothing credible. I don't know what I was expecting. I guess with the secrecy Rachel has described, I shouldn't expect to read anything at CDC.com about it. But Rachel is pulling my leg. The only real evidence she gave me is that I couldn't feel her pulse. But I'm not a doctor, so that evidence isn't very strong. According to a few different web pages, the term zombie wasn't originally used to describe what it does today. It has evolved. It popularly referred to a person under a spell of some kind, more hypnotized than a reanimated corpse. The brain-eating undead is a more recent concoction of fictional fancy. Either the true accounts have never made it to print, or they don't exist. Or zombies don't exist. Why am I willing to change my whole concept of reality just because a girl told me she's a zombie? She's a pretty girl. That's right. I spend a few more minutes reading about the history of zombies on Wikipedia until Mom calls me for dinner. Zombies can't be real. Rachel is playing a big game on me, and she's got me going really good. The only question now is whether she's insane or extremely clever for coming up with this whole thing. I'm tempted to call Trent, maybe ask a few pointed questions, but I decided not to in case I let something slip. I need to sleep on this for at least a night before I delve into it any deeper. In any case, I suppose I'll find out more tomorrow. The morning is calm and warm. I love days like this. When I ask Mom if I could take the car to school today, she asks why I would want to on such a beautiful day. Normally, this would be a great day to ride my bike, like I have been planning to do, but I need to be prepared for driving Rachel somewhere if the occasion arises. I tell Mom I'm going to head off campus for lunch and want to make sure I can get somewhere and back in the allotted time. A good enough excuse. I get to take the car. I head out the door with some toaster pastries and arrive at school before I know it, meaning it doesn't take long when driving. I look for the Jetta I saw Rachel arriving yesterday, but I don't see it. I park facing away from the school and notice Rachel sitting under the large tree between the parking lot and the road. Perfect. What I don't notice is Trent's crew hanging out by his truck. The second I step out of the car, I hear him call my name. Eric, hey man, over here. I turn my head to see him waving me over. I smile and nod, then give a little wave. I don't want to go over there. I'd rather go to Rachel. I close the car door and look towards Rachel. As I turn away from the car, she isn't looking up at me. She is reading. I guess I'll go say hi to those guys before going to Rachel. I don't want to alienate the Jansen crew completely. I'm simply developing a strong preference for Rachel's company. Hey guys, what's up? I say. Nothing. I'm glad I walked all the way over here. We all stand looking at each other for a few more seconds. Michael and Chrissy decide to go into the school. Jesse tags along with them. I'm not going until the bell rings. It's too nice out today, says Trent. It is nice out, I agree, but consumed with the desire to talk to Rachel, I add. Well, I'm going to say hi to Rachel. Catch you later, Trent. Oh, I'll go with you, Trent says, and leaves his leaning perch against the bed of his truck to throw his right arm around my shoulders. Cool, but I only sort of mean it. Whispering, Trent asks, so did you ask Rachel out yet? I'm glad he whispered. Not that I've really had any reason to not expect him to show tact. He's been a nice guy so far, I need to get my mind straight and stop making up some ridiculous divide between my new groups of friends. Maybe I have a real problem with my imagination getting away from me and jumping to wild conclusions about people. Maybe I'm really gullible as a result. That would explain my taking the bait on Rachel's zombie story. I wonder if there's any way I can talk to Trent about that without breaking my promise of secrecy. I decided to be friendly instead of jerkly, which isn't officially a word, but I would use it more often if Webster would include it in his next edition. I answered Trent's question. Nah, not yet. She came over to my house yesterday for a bit and helped me with some homework, but I haven't asked her out yet. Trent squeezes me around my shoulders and makes a congratulatory sound. If I were more of an athlete, I might be able to recreate it myself, but I'm pretty sure it is positive. Baby steps, he says. Yeah, baby steps. That's usually how I approach girls. She's cool though. I'm going to ask her out. To my surprise, Trent slaps me on the back and says at regular volume, "All right, Eric. Well, I'll catch you later. Hey, Rachel." And he turns around and goes back towards the school. He really is an all right guy. Hey, Trent, Rachel shouts back. When she looked up to respond, she looked at me, and with Trent walking in the other direction, she stays looking at me. Good morning, Rachel, I say as I stop at the edge of the parking lot, a few feet from her spot on the grass. Isn't the grass wet with dew? Yeah, I'm sitting on a textbook, she says. Good plan. Thanks again for helping me with the poem last night. Did you revise it at all? No, I thought about going over it again, but got adequately distracted by some research I was doing, I say, hinting at the topic I'm interested to get back to. Research, huh? For school? I don't know how many I don't know many people that get distracted from homework by doing homework. Now who's the one with the keen perception? I play for the query. Give me 3 guesses as to what you were researching, she counters. Go for it. I drop to a crouching position, unwilling to get my pants wet in the dewy grass and unwilling to break my personal rule of never sitting down in a parking lot. I once sat in a parking lot and came up with gum stuck to my pants. I never saw the water on the ground before I sat down. It traumatized me. Discarded gum is rather vile in my opinion. I don't know why the grass doesn't have the same danger potential in my mind as the parking lot does, but if the grass wasn't wet, I would sit in it. I guess I could pull up a textbook, but I'm not going to. Okay, let's see. My first guess is that you were searching for lists of reasons why music in the 90s was better than music today. I guess she is building up to the zombie topic. I thought she was being mostly serious when she asked about guessing. Maybe she is mostly goofing on me again. No, I don't need no, I don't need to read reasons for that. I already know them all, I say in correction. With a smirk, she says, Okay, my bad. Guess number 2. You are researching the origin of the poodle shaving method that results in the dog having bands of fur around their ankles and midsection only. How did you. Next. 2 can play at this game. I was just messing with you. I know what you were researching, she says as she picks up a small scrap of paper from the ground beside her and places it into the book to mark her page. That's more like it. I figured you knew. Of course I know. You were researching the effect of low birth weight among giraffes. Maybe she really isn't thinking about the zombie thing at all. Maybe she just doesn't want to bring it up here and now. Maybe she just doesn't want to bring it up here and now, and this is her way of communicating that to me. You guessed it. I didn't realize I was so transparent that you could know me so well after such a short period of acquaintance. My words come out awkwardly as I adjust my thoughts from joking about zombies to assuming Rachel is avoiding the subject. Keen perception, you said it yourself. She holds her hand out to me. I stand up and grab it so she can pull herself up to standing. I then reach down and pick up her textbook for her. When I stand up again, we are face to face, inches apart. I hold the textbook up between us and she grabs hold of it. For a moment, we are connected like a circuit through the book. At this point in our relationship, this is better than a kiss, but it doesn't last nearly long enough. A strange voice breaks up the moment. Rather, an unfamiliar voice, I guess. The voice sounds normal, I just don't recognize it. Good morning, Rachel, a low but gentle voice says with a clear southern drawl on it. Rachel spins around in an instant pivot. My head snaps to the right to see a rather frail looking man past middle age, but not quite ready to be part of the regular breakfast crowd at McDonald's. He's wearing tan slacks and a blue button up shirt with the collar open. Bifocals rest upon his nose as he peers over the top of the frame. Apparently, he could do with trifocals. Frank, you startled me. Sorry. Good morning, she says. We all stand quietly until Frank looks at me. Rachel adds, Oh, this is my friend, Eric. Eric, this is Frank. He works for my father and lives with us. Was Frank one of the other CDC scientists with the virus? I can't remember. I guess it must be one of those guys if he lives with them. I thought she said those guys never left the house. Hi, Frank. Nice to meet you. I'm Eric. I guess I didn't need to add my name. Yes, Eric, I've heard. It's a pleasure. I thought school would have started by now. You two aren't truant, are you? Frank asks in mock suspicion, laughing at his tease. I smile and look at Rachel. She doesn't look amused, clearly startled by Frank's appearance. School is about to start any moment. We were just about to head inside, she says. Yes, I saw you standing up and expected as much. Just wanted to say hi. It's such a nice day, I decided to take a stroll up and down the road, he says. I hope you enjoy the walk, Frank. I guess I'll see you later, Rachel says with a wave and turns toward the school. Nice to meet you, Frank. I add with a wave of my own and then turn to follow Rachel. My pleasure, Eric. My pleasure. I look back over my shoulder, and the old man is just standing there smiling. I give him a quick head to toe and back again scan before looking forward. I could see him being a zombie. He's a little strange, at least, but I'm probably just thinking that because of the way Rachel reacted to his appearance or presence. He looks normal to me. I'm not doing so well with my words this morning, spoken or not. Rachel doesn't seem like she's about to say anything, so I don't say anything until I am sure we are out of earshot of Frank. Nice fellow, Frank, I say. He's all right, she says. Clearly, this isn't a good topic for discussion right now. I think I'm going to have a rough day if we don't get a chance to talk about this until after school. My curiosity is going to prevent any type of real focus on schoolwork. But to be honest, that's nothing new. I wait until we are inside the school to ask a question. He's one of the guys that, yep, Rachel interrupts. Again, from the inflection in her voice, I think that's all I'm going to get to say on the subject until we are legitimately alone. What are your plans for lunch? I change the subject and begin to hash out a plan for getting us alone. Staying here, maybe going to the library to read, she says shortly. This isn't the same girl I was talking with a few minutes ago, before Frank showed up. Not hungry today? I ask. We are standing by her locker now. Rachel looks up at me, her face void of expression. Not really. I'm also enjoying my book and would like to keep reading it. I want to ask if I can join her in the library, but I decide to hold off on that impulse for a bit. Instead, I ask, what book? I didn't pay attention earlier. Just some young adult novel about romance and supernatural stuff. I like those books, as poorly written and pointless as they usually are. I guess being a teenager and all, I can relate. Supernatural stuff like vampires and monsters and stuff. Her right eyebrow shoots up at the sound of the Z, causing me to change mid sentence. Finally, some recognition of the topic I'm undying to discuss. Yes, that kind of stuff. I think these books are ridiculous, but once I start reading them, I get swept away into some mind numbingly fantastic fairy tale world. It's almost like being asleep while being awake. I think, actually, if I remember correctly from the psychology class I took back in Atlanta, that the brain is more active while sleeping than it is when reading a book like this. The smile seems to be creeping back onto Rachel's face. So, what you're saying is that you don't recommend it to me. I'd love to have you read this book, and then we could discuss it. This is actually the second in the series. I'll bring you the first one tomorrow if you promise to read it. The seriousness seems to have passed completely now, except I think she's serious about me reading the book. I'll be happy to read with you in the library during lunch, I say. Don't you need to eat? Eating is overrated. Says you, she says. We have another brief moment before the warning bell rings and we snap back to reality. School. Rachel opens her locker and I stand there. She swaps some books and then we head off to class. No one seems to care when we walk into the classroom together. No one except for me, at least. The third day of floor hockey brings more games in our bracket system. Today, the teams who lost early are playing the more recent winning teams. The bracket is like nothing you would find in a professional sports league, except maybe bowling. I don't know how bowling works. Rachel is still excused from gym class. After changing for class, I see her perched at the top of the bleachers, buried in her book. Better than being buried in a cemetery. Sometimes I feel the embarrassment that would result if I said something like that out loud, even though I don't say it out loud. It's true, though, about my preference for her burial status. Even while I don't really know what is going on with her, I'm glad she's here and not in a cemetery in Atlanta. And that brings up something important to ponder later, perhaps while lost in a good video game. Is it a sign of good psychological health to have a crush on a zombie, assuming Rachel actually is one? I decide to sit with my team until our game, after which I'll head up and interrupt Rachel's reading. Walking along the bleachers at floor level, I keep looking up at Rachel. She looks down at me briefly and smiles, then goes right back to her book. That's good enough for me right now. I sit next to Chris on the second row of bleachers at half court. Chris is in all of my classes. He's quiet, small, not short, but just small. I haven't talked with him much, just in gym class actually, and then only briefly. Seems nice enough to let live. In my last class, I took to deciding who I'd let live if I became a bloodthirsty zombie, provided I have the cognitive faculties necessary to make that decision when the time comes. I figure it can't hurt to plan ahead. Maybe if I make the choice of whose brains I'll leave alone now, I won't have to make that decision later when I'm not quite at 100% for moral judgment. It never hurts to plan ahead. Chris and I engage in some small talk, and the time quickly passes until our team is up. We are playing against Trent's team. He and I end up guarding each other. The ball quickly goes towards my team's goal. Being on offense, I'm away from the action, with Trent standing idly by. Who is that old guy that you and Rachel were talking to this morning? Trent asks. I've never seen him around before. Did he say what he was doing? Is he a tourist? If Trent doesn't know who Frank is, then I don't want to be the one to tell him. If I say something to him about a guy living at Rachel's house, it could open up a lot of discussion that I'm not prepared for. I could say he's her uncle visiting, but then that creates a scenario that Rachel would need to participate in or correct. Usually the truth is always the easiest route to take. It certainly would be here, but sometimes easy doesn't help keep secrets. In fact, secrets usually aren't easy. What, that old guy? He said he was taking a walk since it was so nice out. I try to play it casual and keep my eyes on the action of the game. Did Rachel know him? Trent asks. I don't know. He just said hello, and then we said hello, and he said he was out for a walk. We agreed that the weather was nice, and then told him we need to get to school. If Trent had been watching the whole interaction, he could probably tell that that isn't what went on in the conversation. But if he was watching it, but if he was watching, it wasn't from his truck. We walked past on the way inside, and I don't remember seeing him. Oh, that's all he can say before the ball comes flying in our direction and we get involved in the game. My team loses. After the game, I pass off my stick to someone else and head up the bleachers to Rachel. What was Trent asking you about? She says without looking up from her book. He asked about that old man we saw this morning. I decided it would be best to play up the story. I just told Trent, just in case anyone could hear me. It wouldn't do for me to use Frank's name. Rachel seems to relax a little when I don't say Frank's name. Oh, yeah? I interpret this to mean, and what did you tell him? He asked if either of us knew the old guy because he's never seen him around and implied that this isn't the big tourist time of the year, so he was wondering where the guy came from. I told him how the man said hello, and then we chatted about the nice weather and told him we had to get inside for school. I take up residence on the bleacher bench to Rachel's right. That's what happened. Should have asked Trent if he was spying on us, she says, still not looking up from the book. I did ask him that. He said he's absolutely captivated by you. He can't stop watching you. As soon as I say this, I wonder if it will be taken in jest or be offensive in some way. You mean you, she says, and looks up at me. When she looks at me this way, I do mean me. I'll admit it. When I look at you, I don't want to look anywhere. When I look at you, I don't want to look away, I say. Although no hint of blush appears in her cheeks, Rachel's facial mannerisms betray a slight embarrassment. She really doesn't have a pulse. Rachel explains, I meant you as in when Trent looks at you, he can't look away. She sweeps the bleachers with her eyes before looking at me again, squinting. But I admire your honesty. I look at her and raise a quizzical eyebrow. We communicate with our eyebrows a lot. She clarifies, I admire your honesty about being a gawker. Clearly, I wasn't honest with Trent. Her clarification confirms that we are on the same page in this conversation again. I nod and look out at the game, covertly scanning our classmates to determine if our conversation is being monitored. It's clear to me that we'll need some time alone today after school. I need to ask her some questions about this secret. I'd like to know if Frank's appearance was a fluke or if that kind of thing is going to happen regularly. If so, we'll need to get our story straight. Maybe Frank is getting sick of the seclusion and he wants to be incorporated into the community. If that's the case, the story will likely come from Rachel's parents that she can then share with me. Hopefully, it doesn't interfere with what I just told Trent. If tomorrow it turns out that Frank is Rachel's visiting uncle or something, then I'll have some explaining to do for Trent when he finds out. Which he likely will. This is Cranston, after all. I guess I could always spin it so that Frank and Rachel don't have a warm relationship, and when I met him this morning, the connection hadn't been revealed to me. That won't actually be so hard to explain away if it comes to it. So, Rachel, do you have some time after school today to hang out? I mean, do you want to go get a milkshake or something? I ask. She places her bookmark and closes the book before answering my question. Sure, something sounds good. Just need to be home in time for dinner again, 6 o'clock. All right, good. Did you drive to school today? No, I always walk. Mom drove me yesterday because she was coming here. I would have walked anyway, but I like my mom's company. She isn't a fan of walking in heels. I see. Well, I'll drive you home afterward, I say. You mean you won't just drop me back here where you found me and leave me to walk home? She fakes sweetness, dripping with sarcasm, as though I was doing her a huge favor, or more accurately, pointing out the goes without saying obviousness of my statement. I'll bring you wherever you want me to. Home, school, Houston, it's all the same to me. Good to know. She opens her book, removes the scrap of paper, places it on the bench beside her, and continues reading. I watch her long enough for her to turn a page, and she never looks up, so I watch the games until the end of class. So you're going to the library now? I ask Rachel. She replaces the bookmark. Rachel says, That's my plan. I'm hooked on this book. Okay, I have to go change. I'll see you in class after lunch. Enjoy your book. Thanks, Eric. Enjoy your lunch. I'll see you soon. Rachel smiles, slides the book into the outer pocket of her backpack, and runs down the bleachers. I watch her go before making my own way to the locker room. I'd hoped she'd change her mind and come to the cafeteria with me, or maybe ask me to join her in the library after I eat, but she didn't. I'm in that state where I just want to be around her constantly. I guess she has more restraint on her impulses than I do. Maybe that's a benefit of being a zombie, where she isn't feeling the same impulse that I am to spend as much time together as possible. It's probably just the zombie thing. Hopefully. That is, if she actually is a zombie. I don't know what kind of evidence I'm going to need to really accept if it is true. Okay. In the locker room, I decided to have a follow-up discussion with Trent regarding the rumors about Rachel's family. He never gave me any specifics, just generalities about the Suttons not being who they say they are, their house formerly being a funeral parlor, and overall asocial behavior. Knowing what I know now, the funeral parlor makes a little more sense in how it ties in, but I wonder if Trent knows anything about that. Trent, good game today, I say, figuring it best to start the conversation out light and in his sphere of interest. Hey, Eric. Yeah, it was good. For someone who claims low athletic ability, you do pretty well for yourself out there. I'm looking forward to baseball season. I'm telling you, floor hockey is it for me, but I'll at least try out for baseball. I don't know how I'm going to get around that one. I don't really want to play a school sport. Trying out is all I ask, Trent says, and then turns back toward his locker. Michael chimes in. That's because anyone who tries out makes the team. Small school, low bar for making the cut. Great, I say with sarcastic enthusiasm. It won't be so bad, man. We'll have fun. If you don't want to play much, you can still be on the team. You can fetch my Gatorade for me or something. Trent slaps me playfully on the shoulder. That I should be able to handle. Besides, maybe with you on the team, Rachel will come out to a game occasionally. It's just my selfish interest, but I'm curious if that would bring her out into the public or not. No offense, I'm just saying, Trent explains. I understand. It's cool. Maybe she would come to a game. I don't know yet. Well, that's convenient. Trent broke the subject himself. I'll tell you, though, if I do play on the team, I'll want Rachel there watching. You're really taken with this girl, huh? Michael asks. Yeah, I am. I find her fascinating. I just want to get to know her better. I'm building up to asking more questions, but I also mean it. Not to pry, but did you talk with her about any of the rumor stuff that we told you about yesterday? Trent asks. We did, actually, sort of. I don't want to betray her confidence, so I guess all I can say is she understands why some of the rumors were started, but doesn't think them justified. Rumors are probably never justified, Trent agrees. I'm probably letting curiosity get the best of me, but I'm still kind of unclear as to the specifics of the rumors. You mentioned something about the Suttons not being who they claim to be, and then some ghost story stuff about the funeral parlor and Rachel's dad being secretive. But what about? But what about it? Do you think Rachel is a ghost or something? I ask. I hope I'm not going too far here. Trent and Michael both laugh at the ghost question. Trent says, "Nah, we don't think she's a ghost. That story would be more fun. I guess specifically the story that's going around is that Rachel's dad is some kind of hitman. So it isn't so much about Rachel as it is her dad. Something about the claim on the heritage, her dad's personality, as reported by the people who work for him, and the connection with the funeral home doesn't help his persona as a bringer of death. I don't know. I'm sure it's all distorted. Maybe he was a federal agent or something and is under some kind of protection now. Or maybe he was a hitman and isn't a witness relocation. These are the speculations. The rumors just grow out from there. All we really know is that the Suttons keep to themselves. And maybe to you." Trent's seriousness melts away with his final comment. I smile. Maybe to me. I guess we'll see. And in chapter 8, I'm going to tell a little side story in the show notes description box below. So go read that. And then come back next week for chapter 9. All right. Thanks for listening. Bye.